Hey everybody, how we all doing? I'm Michael. I'm here with Alex. And
Hello.
We're here with another episode of Fallin Thru Plotholes, a series where we talk about legacy video game franchises, their plot lines, and how they can kind of go off the rails. Alex, I got a question for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you had to pick a modern war to just randomly insert an inappropriate alien invasion into, which war would you pick?
I feel like I would pick Vietnam.
Hmm.
I feel like that war already went off the rails so much that, yeah, just throw aliens into it.
Yeah, I could get into that because that would make China Beach a lot more interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Which, for those of you who don't know, China Beach is a TV show from the early 90s that involved people coming to age on the front lines in China Beach. It was kind of like MASH in a weird way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, no, I think that could work. I think that could work. I personally would go with the Korean War, and a big reason for that is because it's kind of forgotten, and also I think MASH just needs the help. That TV show just wasn't a very interesting show in general. People didn't really like it, and I think if you just had an alien invasion and a bunch of doctors having to deal with it, might still be the most popular show of all time. I don't know.
Might, yeah.
So yeah, if you can't tell from that little bit, we're talking about Contra today. A Konami franchise that for some reason is still going on to this day. And one that, when I initially started thinking about it, I was like, yeah, Contra. I kind of enjoy Contra. There's been some games in it that I liked. Until I actually sat down and thought about it some more, and then I went, wait, I actually really like the Alien Wars and Shattered Soldier and all these other cool games that are in the series. Alex, have you played a whole lot of Contra games?
I have spent some time in Contra 1 and 3, and that's about the extent of my experience with them.
Yeah, so you played the good ones.
Yeah, touch the classics.
Yeah. Contra is... It's a very influential series in many ways. It's a series that ended up influencing and really causing the creation of a very beloved video game company, Treasure, when a bunch of ex-Konami staffers wanted to make a Contra-like game but wanted to be a new franchise and were told no. They wanted to make Gunstar Heroes instead. As well as a bunch of indie games like nowadays, whatnot, that tend to have that sort of run and gun with B-movie sort of plot and whatnot.
Yeah. I didn't know that about Gunstar Heroes, because I freaking love Gunstar Heroes.
Oh, yeah. Treasure was made up of ex-Konami employees who they wanted to, make new franchises.
Right.
And they're like, hey, we want to make a run-and-gun shooter. It's kind of like Contra in this, new, weird, kind of happy, futuristic place. And they're like, no, how about you just make another Contra? And they're like,
right.
How about no?
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes a lot of sense that Treasure is made up of ex-Contra devs.
Oh, yeah.
That makes the most sense in the world, actually.
It does. It'll especially make sense once we talk about, what the design philosophy behind Contra is. And if you're like me, you'll go, oh, yeah, that's exactly how Gunstar Heroes is set up.
Yep.
But yeah.
Because actually, in my mind, one of the big Genesis versus SNES debates is which is better, Contra 3 or Gunstar Heroes.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, that makes perfect sense now.
Yeah, and I know which side I fall on that, which is...
I also know.
Yeah, it's the Gunstar Heroes side.
Yeah.
Which is not to say that the Alien Wars is a bad game by any stretch. It is excellent, but...
It's very good, but Gunstar Heroes is better.
Yes, it is. Yeah, so... As you can tell from the fact that we're kind of gushing about Contra, that's kind of how this whole episode sort of started out when I was doing the planning for it. Where it was Contra, this could kind of be a nice light little episode. Then I went, wait, I really love Contra, and this turned into something where I was really expecting to do this as a double feature with Gradius or some other Konami franchise, and instead this turned into its whole most likely 2-hour podcast episode. As I dug into it more and more and realized, wow, there are a ton of Contra games. And in the biggest twist of all, they're still making Contra games to this day.
Which, is that the only games Konami's still making?
I mean, they're making soccer games.
Oh, right.
The Ultimate Alien Wars, soccer,
Yeah.
AC Milan. They're like the Black Viper of. This is very torturous. We're just going to continue.
It's very tortured, but the point is they should just drop aliens into their soccer game.
Oh, they should. They should.
That would be better.
I would be totally for that, actually.
Yeah.
But yeah, Contra is a series that has been around for quite a while, and because of that, it seems like it's kind of like the perfect subject for this particular series, because it's a franchise that's been around since the 80s, and as it's gone on, and as there's been technological advancements in storytelling in video games and what have you, presentation and all that, it's a series that's been allowed to go from being just like a very simple run and gun shooter to something that doesn't take itself too seriously most of the time until it really does. Which is more or less what a lot of legacy franchises do, where it's like, oh, okay, you're not taking this too serious. Oh no, yes you are.
There's always at least that one game where someone just was way too into the storyline.
Yep, just there always is. There's always a lot of these series always have like one person who's like kind of leading the charge, and they're like, no, we have to make this serious.
Mm-hmm.
Like when we eventually talk about Mega Man, oh boy.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it's gonna be beautiful. But yeah, to kind of get into a little bit of the backstory of this, of all the Konami franchises to take hold and be active nearly 24 years later, Contra seems to be one of the most unlikely. It's a series that started in the arcades, and despite only releasing 2 titles in the arcade, never gave up on those roots. Even when the series moved to being a console-only franchise, it maintained popularity either because of, or despite of, its punishing difficulty, short pickup and playing gameplay, and relatively simple, yet increasingly unhinged storyline. Even today, Contra is regularly influencing indie games, have games from the franchise featured at charity events such as speedrun marathons, and spoken lovingly on top 10 lists of all sorts. Like, if you get like a top 10 list of like Super Nintendo games, you usually see like Contra 3 kind of like hang out in the middle there, and same for like top 10 NES games, or even like top 10 Genesis games, you'll see hardcore, so like usually up there, usually below like Gunstar Heroes or whatever. It's because of this, though, that it's strange that there isn't more to say about the making of the first game. While many other legacy franchises of the era, such as Metal Gear and Mega Man, have their own, like, well-documented history, Contra weirdly does not. It's kind of like they sort of just made this game, put it out there, and were kind of surprised by the success. It also doesn't help that the team was pretty small. It was developed in 1987 with a small team consisting of designer Koji Hiroshita and composer Hidenori Mizawa. It tells the story of 2 commandos set to defeat an army brainwashed by aliens. And once again, it's primarily just like a run and gun side-scroller that kind of broke up the action with behind-the-back sections and large boss fights. So it wasn't really like a whole lot of story that was like put into this arcade game. And they sort of just like kind of like threw it out into Japanese and American arcades, and it ended up being a success. And they went, okay, I guess we should make more of these. So the name Contra is itself kind of interesting, because while it's never been confirmed or denied by Konami, the name is theorized to have been derived from the Contras who fought against the Sandinistas in the 80s in Nicaragua. For those of you who are American, you may remember learning about in history books about the Iran-Contra affair, where our own government committed some light treason against itself.
Yeah.
Which is lovely. Now, this has never been confirmed or denied by Konami that the Contra is derived from this. But I'm going to share this one fact for you, Alex. I'm going to let you decide for yourself if they took inspiration from this. The end credits music is called Sandinista.
Yeah, it's a little on the nose.
Yeah, just a little bit. Because once again, the Contras were fighting against the Sandinistas in Nicaragua. And it's like, well... maybe it's a coincidence. Maybe they just really like the name Sandinista. I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Maybe they really like the name Contra.
Maybe they did. I mean, Contra's a good name.
It is a good name.
Very good. It's a good name. This is a series that actually has a couple of good names. We're going to get into that in a second. So the game achieved some solid success in the arcades, and like many of Konami's arcade hits, it was ported to the Famicom, or the Nintendo Entertainment System, worldwide. This is where the game really took off in popularity, in large part due to the sheer effort Konami put into the home conversion. Many changes were made from the arcade version to better suit the system. A special memory chip called the VRC2 was used to allow for additional graphical effects, cutscenes, and other niceties. Unless you lived in North America. Because Nintendo, for a couple of reasons, because of scarcity of boards, as well as to prevent piracy, and just have like direct control over the third parties, you had to get the boards directly from them. Which meant since Konami produced the VRC2, Nintendo didn't have that, and so they had to rejigger the game a little bit so that it could actually work on a standard like Nintendo ROM board and whatnot. So it took away all those cutscenes, all like this weird map that shows up before the stages. Like graphically, it's not quite as good. But despite that, it was very popular here. Contra was even more popular at home than in the arcades. And I think it's that fact that influenced Konami making this more of a home console series rather than like continuing in the arcades, much past its sequel, Super Contra. So, once again, Contra would get another arcade sequel in the form of Super Contra in 1988. After that, though, the series is console only. In 1992, Konami would release Contra 3, The Alien Wars for the Super Famicom or the Super Nintendo everywhere else. So this is where we get a little bit of actual history behind like the team and whatnot. This game was made of a team of more or less 4 people, like additional people joined on near the end of development, but most part of development was just these 4 people. But the main person we're going to be talking about here is Nobuya Nakazato. So Nakazato was a man who's only in his 3rd year at Konami at this point. And just, this is a real sign of how fast and loose video game companies were back then. This was his directorial debut. His only experience in Contra before then was playtesting Super C, the home conversion for Super Contra, and doing bug testing. So it's like it's cool that these like sort of stories sort of exist in like video games in this era, like having like Mark Cerny at like age 17 like make a Marble Madness, or like people like Nintendo pulling Shigeru Miyamoto like off another project and being like, can you just make a new game instead of radar scopes so we could sell these arcade machines? I know you're just an artist, but yeah,
it's all a lot of, hey, who do we have?
Who's not working on something right now? We have,
and seems somewhat reliable.
Everything is on fire. We just need a warm body to throw on the fire.
Yep.
But yeah, this turned out to be a very good idea to put this man on this team, though. So Nakazato had a particular idea of how these games should work. So Contra games up to this point were usually you had one long stage, you fight through waves of enemies, you fight a boss at the end. But he had a particularly different idea of how the gameplay should be. And so I'm going to quote from a book that Konami put out alongside the Contra Anniversary Collection called The History of Contra. And he has a really good interview with him in there. And he talks about how he came up with, he and the team, he spreads the credit out to the rest of the team with the idea of like what the gameplay loop should be, and that every 3 screens, something interesting should happen. Like either a set piece, a boss fight, or like an auto-scroller or something else, right? And so this ended up becoming the defining gameplay loop for Contra. It meant that these games became oftentimes like boss rushes. You go 3 screens, a boss would happen. That'd be like really exciting. 3 more screens, something else would happen. And this was implemented in Contra 3, and it was really, really well received.
Right.
He also wanted to produce like a certain vibe for Contra, and this is a direct quote from him, translated to English. The original Contra does have a pretty strong low-budget movie vibe to it, but as far as shooting games go, it's quite serious, quite realistic. This is an editor's note. I don't agree with that, but... So back to the quote. So what we thought we could do was really crank things up a few notches and make it amusing, but not to the extent that it became a comedy. Basically, he wanted to give it a B-movie feel. And I think for the most part, he succeeds in this. There's going to be a few moments where, once again, it's going to get a little too serious. It's going to break that veneer a little bit. But essentially, this is supposed to be kind of a really dumb B-movie sort of plot. So because of that, The story of Contra doesn't take itself too seriously. There will be times when it does, and it's usually pretty dumb, but it seems to be comfortable with what it is, a B-movie plot set in the future involving aliens. So, we're about to dive into the actual plot synopsis of the series, but before we do that, I do want to clarify a few things. To start, while most games follow the story of the two main characters, Bill Reiser and Lance Bean, there are multiple spin-offs that were made just for North American markets, because once again, the game was popular over here. These games are non-canonical. It consists of about 4 games or so. Contra Force, which takes place in a modern day and involves you shooting drug traffickers. It's kind of weird. C, the Contra Adventure, which is for the PlayStation, as well as Contra Legacy to War, also for the PlayStation. These games are non-canonical. We're not going to be talking about them. There's also another game called Contra Rebirth that's pretty good. It was a WiiWare title, but it kind of retcons a lot of things. It's kind of weird, so we're not going to be talking about that either. The second is that up until the release of 2002's Contra Shattered Soldier for the PlayStation 2, the plots of the English version and the Japanese version are different. Now, it's not huge differences, and we're going to be touching upon some of those English version differences because they're kind of funny. But for the most part, we're going to be following the Japanese version because that's kind of the main canonical plot line. Mm-hmm. Finally, the last thing is, there was a game that was released for the Genesis called Contra Hardcore. This game is excellent. It kind of takes Contra off on a different path. Like those two PlayStation North American only games that I mentioned earlier are actually weird sequels to that. Like the main character in Contra Hardcore is the main character in those games. And there's even like a weird prequel game that was intended to take Contra off into like another direction. That was just called Hardcore. Made by Arxis, oddly enough.
Oh, was that the DS game?
No, it was an Xbox. It was an Xbox 360 PS3 online game. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, that game. So that series kind of was like goes off in its own direction, and so just to kind of keep focus on like Bill Reiser and all that, we're just going to stick with kind of like the main through line of the Contra plot. This also will have the nice side effect of not making this a 3-hour podcast. Because we have to cut this at some point. Contra does not need 2 parts. I refuse. So yeah, that's kind of the big things that we're going to kind of focus on here. But with that, let's jump into Contra for the NES in 1987. So to give a little bit of background of what exactly is going on in the world of Contra, the story takes place in the year 2633, so a good 600 years in the future. Earth is more or less unified under one government that has a couple of names. They kind of flip-flop all between a bunch of them, from the Earth Federation to the Federation, among others. But the point is, there's a unified government. Society is both somehow very advanced and very much not. It's like very modern looking, like they use like old school Huey helicopters, but they also travel to space to Jupiter.
Right.
So it's kind of all over the place, like cybernetics are in this world. So 2 years prior to the start of Contra, a meteor lands in the Galuga archipelago off the coast of New Zealand. At first, nothing much was thought of this until 2 years later, when the local military base went offline and a new terrorist army showed up by the name of Red Falcon. As an aside, in the Japanese version, Red Falcon does not exist. That name doesn't exist at all. But this is like one thing from the English version they actually took and put into there later, which is kind of nice. I like that. I like the name Red Falcon an awful lot. It is.
It's a good one.
So no one knew what they wanted, but Red Falcon proceeded to invade nearby territories and in general cause a bunch of mayhem and destruction. So the Earth Marine Corps sends in their best fighters, who are both privates for some reason, and part of their elite Contra task force to stop them. Their names are Bill Reiser and Lance Bean. So I'm gonna put some photos up here for you, Alex. I'm pretty sure you know what these people look like. But there we go. That's a good one right there. So what I'm showing right now is the box art for Contra for the NES. And it's, oh god, it's so good.
Oh boy.
It is a kind
boy.
of plagiarism that you just cannot get away with nowadays.
It really
So,
is.
on it are our two main characters. You have Bill Reiser and Lance Bean. Bill's on the left and Lance Bean's on the right. And just to describe this at home, because this is an audio podcast, Bill is on the left. He has a like short cropped blonde hair, a very muscle bound guy wearing a vest, firing a gun, and he looks kind of like Arnold Schwarzenegger. He's kind of plausible deniability Arnold. Mm-hmm. On the right though is Lance, who is Rambo. He is unquestionably Rambo.
Couldn't even take off
the
bandana.
Not. And what's even better is that, like, as the series goes on, he becomes more Rambo. Like, here, I'm just gonna pull up, like, what he looks like in later official artwork. Yeah, he is literally just, like, straight from Rambo 3. Like, he has the long flowing hair, he has the red bandana, shirtless. It is so hilariously, unquestionably Rambo. And in the back is an alien from the movie Aliens.
Yep. Just why not? Just throw
it in there. And like I said, this is something that you could get away with in the 80s if you're a Japanese company, because nobody noticed. Mm-hmm. Nobody was caring about what Japan was doing until roughly about 1990 when we thought they were going to take us over. So, yeah, it's incredibly evident by the box art, and this is both the US and Japanese versions, by the way. This is just like the US version being like, oh, let's, I don't know, I saw Commando. Let's just rip off the Commando artwork. Or actually, it's the Predator artwork. My apologies. No, this is the Japanese version basically has this as well.
Yeah.
So, basically, these two commandos end up infiltrating the island on the Galuga archipelago that Red Falcon's on, and they fight through their tanks and bulldozers and other mechanized equipment that are thrown at them, and they're just incredibly unstoppable the entire time. As they get deeper and deeper into the base, however, they discover the true nature of Red Falcon. They're aliens. They're just straight up aliens. Because it turns out when that meteor fell to Earth 2 years ago, it contained an alien general by the name of Emperor Demon Dragon God Java.
Good.
I know, right? He is so important. He has 4 titles. What's even better is there's technically a general who's above him, and he only gets 2 titles. Which makes me think it's like kind of this weird thing. Maybe in this universe, like, Bill and Lance are actually like generals, and general's just like the lower rank. Maybe, and like it's the same with the aliens. So like kind of like later it's like, oh man, it's God Gava. It's like, oh man, he's like 3 tiers above Emperor Demon Dragon God Java. And here's a picture of Java just for you, Alex. He's awesome. Basically a chestburster from Aliens, and for those of you who don't know what a chestburster is, think a penis with a sharp mouth on it. That's what Java is. So, it turns out he was leading some lesser aliens, and what they did is they brainwashed the human army that was present on the island. They slowly built up their forces over 2 years for purposes unknown, assumed need to conquer and destroy humanity, I guess. And they used that to start invading the rest of the world. Now, while they are apparently very powerful creatures, they weren't immune to bullets. So Bill and Lance just basically shoot the hell out of the giant alien mass that contains the body of Java. They blow it up, it blows up the rest of the alien nest that they ran into, and it puts an end to the alien menace. And Bill and Lance are hailed as heroes. Isn't that great? I think that's great.
That's great. I have a question.
Hit me.
Did Java call them Red Falcon?
So, that seems to be the, like, in later games, it seems to be that's the name the humans gave to it. Because, like, they originally thought this was, like, a terrorist organization. So it's like, oh, it's Red Falcon. Although, it does have, like, weird, like, Red Falcon, like, logos, like, all over the place. But there's also sort of, like, the Contra logo. It's kind of weird. Yeah, it's never well explained.
Okay. Because it's like, the alien invader brainwashed a bunch of people and then declared themselves an official army.
Yeah.
Named Red Falcon to the Earth government?
Yeah, you know, they wanted
Seems like some extra steps to your invasion plan.
They want to give them a heads up. Well, as far as I know, they didn't, like, announce it. It was just like the army was just like, they seem bad. Falcon.
Yeah.
There's a falcon there, a red falcon. I don't know. The Earth Federation, Earth Government, Triumvirate, whatever they call themselves, occasionally Assembly, they're kind of bad at names and doing things, as we'll soon see in the next game. But yeah, that's the story of Contra. Very simple, very clean.
Yep.
The US version story is slightly different, and this is going to cause some issues. So while the primary beats are the same, the story instead starts in 1957, when the meteor lands in the Amazon basin, which sort of makes sense because you fight through a jungle in the first stage, but it lands some near old Mayan ruins, and it starts taking over like the different countries in the area over a period of 30 years. So in 1987, an evil alien army appears out of nowhere and begins terrorizing people. So the Pentagon rules out sending in a U.S. invasion force, which is very restrained for 1980s United States.
I feel like that's the first thing the Pentagon would do.
Yeah, the first thing would be like, oh, we could test some weapons. Let's get in there. Yeah, no, they go, no, we can't invade. It'll upset people. It's like, sure, okay. But they decide to send in Bill and Lance, codenamed, respectively, Mad Dog and Scorpion. So, Bill Mad Dog and Lance Scorpion. The story otherwise plays out the same, although there is a weird change where player 1 in Japan is Bill. Here, player 1's Lance. This doesn't really matter for any real reason, but, it's just kind of a fun little fact. So, yeah, they go in, basically, the same thing happens. They blow up Red Falcon, and game over.
So, I gotta give someone at Konami of America credit for knowing their audience.
Mm-hmm.
Because if they're going for American B-movie plot / let's just do Predator. Yeah, they did Predator. Good job.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense why they made this change. 100%.
I don't know about the 30 years part. I feel like someone would have said something over the 3 decades of slow assimilation.
Yeah, you'd kind of think so. Because it's not like the U.S. wasn't doing things down there for that 30-year period.
No, we were very present around there.
Yeah. Look up the School of the Americas, people. Anyways. Or don't. But
probably do, but prepare for a bad time.
Oh, yeah, prepare for a really bad time. But yeah, so good change on their part. It's going to be a problem, though, because now we have... about 700 years worth of difference.
Yeah.
Or 600 or whatever, 650. So the next game, Super Contra, also known at home as Super C on the NES and whatnot, which oddly enough does not stand for Super Contra. It stands for Super Commando. Don't understand that one, but it takes place 1 year after the events of Contra. So in 2634, General Hal of the Earth Federation, and this is going to get confusing, while attending a joint military exercise with the GX Army in South America. I guess that's another army in the Earth Federation, or it's another country? It's kind of weird. The joint military exercise part kind of throws it off.
Yeah, a little bit.
So he goes down to do this exercise, and he ends up sending a distress signal back to headquarters. So the Earth Federation senses something is wrong, and they send in Bill and Lance to investigate, who have not been promoted, by the way. They are still privates.
Sure.
Save the world?
Yeah, that's fine.
One of them asked for a shirt. They're like, nah, I haven't earned that yet. So it turns out it's Red Falcon again, and they've brainwashed everyone. So things play out more or less the same as before. Bill and Lance kill a very xenomorph-like alien general named Demon Emperor Gava. Once again, no relation to Java, by the way.
All right. Yeah.
Other than they're the same species of aliens, presumably.
Yeah, they just really like that sound.
They kind of do. So they stop him from taking over the world. The plot is kind of boring. That's just kind of it. The US version, however, is kind of a treat. So I have here a page from the manual to the NES Contra game.
Okay.
And I'm going to just read you the blurb. It's on page 4. None of this is canonical, but boy, do I wish it was.
Mm-hmm.
Don't fire until you see the red of their eyes. Sipping cold lemonade with a couple of native lovelies. Mad Dog and Scorpion, guerrilla warriors extraordinaire, relax on a Rio beach and boast of how they destroyed the vile alien warmonger Red Falcon. Little do they know that Red Falcon didn't flee with his pointed tail between his legs. Instead, he tactically retreated to round up ruffians of the universe, friends from all walks of war, to mount a second assault on planet Earth. One of these new recruits is Jagger Freud, a demented alien from the Black Hole Galaxy who dishes out punishment with a laser-sharp tongue. Red Falcon is also shuttled in the Babalu Destructoid Mechanism, a giant alien attack tank, which was the primary weapon used to disintegrate the innocent solar system of Tralala. But the genius behind Red Falcon's Earth-conquering concept is his plan to have thousands of intergalactic warriors seep into the brains of the U.S. Army. It's a mind contamination trick that has already taken command of U.S. forces at Fort Firestorm. Now, how do we know our soldiers have been brain trashed? You could see it in their eyes. Now, if Mad Dog and Scorpion fail to recuperate from their months on the beach in time to destroy Red Falcon's GI-fortified hate nest, his sinister scheme will permeate the world's mightiest power, nuclear missile silos included. And if that happens, we'll all be pushing up daisies.
Okay.
It's so good.
So
it's
that's
beautiful.
a lot. There's a lot there. Okay, so by this take, Red Falcon is the alien.
Yes. Yeah, the name of the alien is Red Falcon in US version. Straight up.
Okay. Which maybe makes more sense than him naming his invasion force Red Falcon. But anyway, and then at the end of Contra, he didn't die, he ran away.
Yeah, he only partially exploded, I guess.
And recruited alien mercenary villains.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, from the Black Hole Galaxy and a tank that apparently destroyed the innocent solar system of Tralala.
Yeah, just a tank.
It was a really strong tank.
It's a really strong tank. And also the mind control.
Yes.
But the mind control is also aliens?
Yes? It's kind of both. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of like they have alien soldiers and apparently US forces that are, like, brainwashed.
And also, he is determined to take over the world's nuclear weapon stocks, even though he has a tank that destroyed a solar system.
Yeah.
I see.
You know, it's nukes. They're great. Like, why use your cool tank if you can just get nukes? Maybe it's very expensive to run the tank.
What is his goal again? What's the goal of any of the aliens in this game so far?
Kill people.
Okay, if you have a tank that destroys a solar system, why didn't you just shoot the solar system with the tank?
You know, that's a good question.
What was any of this?
You know, it's... I don't have a good answer for you, Alex, but I do have the answer of Konami's copywriters are just chef's kiss.
Yeah. Oh boy.
Because this is not the only like series where the back of the box or like the insert blurb is like this great. Like, I implore people to look up the Metal Gear 2 Solid Snake back of the box
oh boy.
plot where they talk about, you know, Colonel McTaffy and Ayatollah Kakamami.
Oh,
yeah. It's so good. By the way, I'm not done with this blurb. There's more.
Oh, I apologize. Please continue.
So there's not really more plot, but I just read this and I realized I need to continue reading.
Okay.
How to fight for your life and everyone else's. Fire, 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 and don't stop firing are the only instructions you need. Because in this doomsday extravaganza, there's little time for thinking. A killer instinct is all that matters. And if your trigger finger lacks stamina, Earth will lack a future. To begin this all-out mega war, press the start button. Next, press the select button to choose one commando or two commando contest. If one commando plays, you will assume the savage role of Mad Dog with controller 1. Oh, so they switched it back to Bill in this one. If a second commando plays, he or she, yes, this is the 90s, and women make just as tough commandos as guys. Very progressive. Will take charge of Scorpion with controller 2. Finally, press the start button again, and it's off to meet Red Falcon. Or your maker. It's so good.
How many games will go by before there's a female commando in this series?
Let's see. If you're just canonical games, it will take 4 games. The 5th game, Hardcore, does have a female Contra. So, hey, eventually. Not bad, mid-90s.
Yeah, that's not too bad.
Yeah. So, the 3rd game in the series was for the Game Boy. And this is 1991's Operation C for the Game Boy, which is kind of a weird game. Because instead of aliens taking over a human army, this time an unnamed hostile army in the South Pacific, they should just blow up the South Pacific at this point in the series.
Probably, yeah.
Acquires a bunch of alien cells and tries to make bioweapons out of them for the purposes of world domination.
Okay.
This is going to be a common theme in Contra, by the way, where people go, boy, those aliens are tough. What if we made weapons out of them? So Bill Reiser is sent to stop them, or if it's the US version, once again, they decided Lance is the player 1 character, they'll send in Lance instead. Once again, Scorpion Lance. I forgot I put that up there. Very important to refer to him as his codename.
Yes.
And they fight their way to the heart of the enemy strongholds. They defeat the enemy army, and they fight a single-celled organism that is the alien cell known as Black Viper.
Seeing a pattern to the naming.
Right? Black Viper is not only my favorite alien name, it's also my favorite type of heroine. For the record,
we can edit that part out.
I do not. I don't use heroin. I do not condone heroin. Let me make this clear as a nurse. The US version is a bit different in the sense that the data save, by the way. The US version is a bit different in the sense that Black Viper isn't being used, but he's rather in charge of the whole operation. It's really weird change that they decide to make, because I guess they don't. Well, I already know why. It's censorship reasons. If you're shooting people, but they're controlled by aliens, it's okay.
Right.
So, but apparently Black Viper does the same thing Red Falcon did in the previous games. Brainwashes a bunch of soldiers, imports their own. Lance shoots them.
Mm-hmm. I mean, honestly, that change isn't that bad. Like, the idea of, they tried to take control of this, but haha, its malevolent mind turned the tables on them. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah, a lot of the changes they do to the localization here is not the world's worst. It's going to become a problem in the very next game we talk about. But for the most part, it's okay. They're okay changes.
Right.
Which, speaking of, now it's time to talk about the big one. Contra 3, The Alien Wars. So, Contra 3 is the big one because every other game past this is going to reference the Alien Wars in some way.
Right. Makes sense.
And once we get into it, you'll kind of understand why. So, released in 1992, this is set in 2636, 3 years after the original Contra. Basically, the aliens have stopped playing around, and they just straight up launch a full-scale invasion of the entire world, sending in a horde of alien soldiers, monsters, and machines to take on humanity.
Dogs.
Oh yes, alien dogs too. There's also alien dogs. Yeah, those dogs suck.
Those dogs are bad.
Oh god, in the first stage too.
Yeah, they really should have just sent only those dogs, just thousands of them. That would have done it.
Really, for a lot of classic video games, it's the villains just had nothing but dogs and birds. Yeah. Nobody would be able to do anything.
Pretty much, yeah.
After 6 months of fighting, humanity has been laid to waste, and all hope seems lost until Bill and Lance show back up to take on aliens, as seen in the intro to the game. Alex, I presume you're familiar with the intro of Contra 3, and if not...
Yes.
Okay. I highly advise people to look it up. I'm gonna link it into the Discord in the event you want to look at it again.
I think I will. It's been a second. I want to refresh myself.
Oh god, it's so beautiful. It's so good. Even has that classic Konami sort of intro there.
Yeah, I'm going to play it at slightly faster speed just to get through it.
Yeah, no worries.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. 80, 2636.
Yep. Dark portal descends from the sky, fires a beam that, just ravages a city in one shot.
Mm-hmm.
Evil head.
Evil head. That evil head is one of the best evil heads in video games.
It's a really good evil head.
Oh, it's so good.
The alien wars begin. It's time for revenge. Let's attack aggressively. Oh, boy.
Yes. Yep. That is maybe my favorite Contra quote is...
Let's attack aggressively.
Exactly, because it's like, you haven't before?
Well, I do have to ask, like, okay, it's been 6 months. Why'd they show up now?
It's never really explained.
Where were they for that 6 months?
They were hanging out on a beach on Rio, sipping cold lemonade with a bunch of lovely natives.
I feel like that beach would have gotten black hole beamed at some point.
You figured it would have. Yeah, I don't know. Don't really understand where they've been. But they come back, and they decide that, okay, we need to stop these people. So the game plays out roughly similar to Contra games as far as, like, the story is concerned. Once again, this is the first game where Nakazato is on as director, and so you have your standard gameplay loop now of 3 screens as something interesting happens. But Bill and Lance start out in the city. They've had to fight through and neutralize aliens and whatnot. They fight through alien factories that have been set up on Earth to produce weapons. They proceed to take out a bunch of heavy equipment the aliens have brought along their invasion force. And they finally locate the leader of the aliens, who's once again Demon Emperor Gava. I'm not sure if it's the same one, but according to every resource I looked at, which includes instruction manuals and the official Contra book and whatnot, that's his name. It's Demon Emperor Gava, so I guess it's the same one.
I guess.
So they locate him in an unknown desert, and after defeating a bunch of giant mutated aliens, the Contras infiltrate the alien lair, which once again is just ripped straight out of H.R. Geiger's sketchbook.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there are facehuggers everywhere. Once again, Java shows up for some reason and is a chest burster. They confront Gava, and after destroying his main body, he blows apart and it's just his brain. And they have to fight his brain, who's can just psychically command things around him. They manage to destroy that. Like, a helicopter picks him up, and as the nest explodes, Gava tries to chase him out, but they end up destroying him, shooting him down back into the alien nest, and blowing it all up. So this ends up having huge implications, the Alien Wars in general. This may seem a little weird considering we just got through the entire plot literally in 2 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
But the world suffers a lot of catastrophic environmental damage from the alien attacks. And the power structures that are in place end up getting really shaken up. The Earth Federation gets kind of shattered a little bit because of this.
Mm-hmm.
And all canonical Contra sequels are going to have to deal with the Alien Wars in one way or another. So every game's going to reference it. Every game's going to kind of play back to what happened during the Alien Wars. It was really bad time. And what have you. So this is the final time we're going to be talking about plot differences, though, between the US version and the Japanese version. Okay. So, unlike previous games, which are set in a more contemporary timeline, the US release of Alien Wars actually takes place in the future as well. I think largely because they flash 80, 26, 36, and nobody at Konami in North America knew how to edit those graphics out.
Right.
So because of that, they had to go, okay, you're actually playing as the descendants of Bill and Lance,
right,
whose names are Jimbo and Sully.
They probably just should have said their names are also Bill and Lance.
They should have done that, but they didn't.
That's unfortunate.
That is unfortunate. So the villains are once again Red Falcon as well. And the game is otherwise the same as far as the plot is concerned, because once again, they flashed the Alien Wars on front, and I'm pretty sure nobody at Konami of America knew how to edit those out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's Contra 3. So, as a quick aside, before we kind of move on here, because the timeline is going to slowly come together, I do want to give a quick shout out to the European version. Now, I didn't talk about it because the plot largely follows along the Japanese version, but because of censorship laws there, the game is not called Contra, but rather it's called Probotector.
Oh boy.
So, in some countries in the PAL regions, the European regions, they don't want you depicting humans shooting other humans. Now, if it's a robot shooting those humans, it's okay. So the Probotectors in this game are robots. I believe it's like RC001 is the Bill character and RC003 is the Lance character. And so yeah, they like just run, you just end up playing as robots. So for those of you at home who are listening to this and you live in, say, England or something like that, I know we at least have one person from Belgium who listened, which shout outs to Belgium. If you want to have the authentic experience of getting these plot recaps, but also be in the Probotector universe, just substitute every time I say that man killed that alien with that robot killed that alien. Or that man done blowed up, when I mention that later, with that robot done blow up, and you'll more or less get the same experience.
You know what? I might like this plot better.
It is kind of rad. There's
a distinct possibility that the plot of Contra gets better when Bill and Lance are robots.
Oh man, they only do this split one more game in Contra Hardcore, but that's really great because in the US versions, you have a Wolfman you can play as.
Oh yeah. That Wolfman should definitely be a robot.
He is a robot in the European version. It's great. Yes. He's a robot Wolfman.
That's good.
Yeah, the Probotectors are awesome. And in Contra 4, you actually get to play as a Probotector. So, yeah, Contra 4, released for the DS in 2007. We're kind of jumping ahead into the future, but this kind of just makes sense to talk about it now.
Right.
Because in the timeline, this happens more or less right after Contra 3. This was developed by WayForward, by the way. And it's kind of a... Go ahead.
I forgot I actually did play some of Contra 4.
Contra 4 seems like it's an awesome game.
It's pretty good. It felt pretty good. It was fun.
Yeah. I should play it sometime. I watched a lot of gameplay videos of it. But yeah, it's developed by WayForward, and it's kind of a love letter to Contra in many ways. So, Alex, what if I told you there was another region I kept bringing up the US versions?
I would believe it.
Contra 4 actually tries to meld all of them together.
Oh no.
It's actually kind of beautiful because they try to meld them all together to make them somewhat cohesive. Contra 4 takes place 6 months after the Alien Wars. The aliens kind of start attacking humanity out of nowhere. Nobody knows where they're coming from. But the Earth Federation eventually pinpoints their location to the Galuga Archipelago, where Contra took place.
Right.
And so they decide to send in 4 of the Contras to deal with this. Bill and Lance, as well as Mad Dog and Scorpion.
Oh boy.
No, it gets better. It gets better, though, because you can unlock the Probotectors. And you can also unlock Jimbo and Sully as well.
Isn't that just Bill and Lance?
No. Remember, Jimbo and Sully...
Well, are the descendants of Mad Dog and Scorpion.
Oh, but you mean in Japan? Yeah, no, they're like recolors, essentially.
Right.
Yeah, but they call them Jimbo and Sully here, so it's great. Yeah, and so this game's actually a weird sequel to Operation C. And even serves as like a really mild retcon as well. So according to Contra 4, Bill didn't stop the bad guys in that game, but rather it was Mad Dog and Scorpion. So that's the big retcon. Okay. Mad Dog and Scorpion were actually the ones who went in and dealt with it. And furthermore, Black Viper is back somehow and is now actually controlling the aliens rather than being used by an unnamed human army. So the team has to battle through the old Red Falcon base. They find out how Black Viper is building its army. Basically, it's been murdering humans and turning their corpses into abominations. And also just producing alien offspring herself as well. So the Contras end up blowing up her nest. They kill Black Viper and take care of her for good.
Wasn't Black Viper a single-celled organism?
Yeah, but now it's bigger.
Oh.
Yeah, it got big. And it actually looks more or less just like Demon Emperor Gava, and apparently is related to Demon Emperor Gava. I believe it's a brother or sister to Gava.
Okay.
Canonically.
Wasn't it made of just random alien genetic material that people found lying around?
You know, maybe?
Which I guess makes you a sibling?
Oh yeah, kind of.
Shouldn't she just be a clone of Gava, if anything?
Yeah, you would kind of think so. I don't know, maybe he's just like, there was like another alien cell around, and he just happened to get really lucky and pick up the one that wasn't Gava. Or Java.
But was the sibling of Gava.
Yeah.
Who was of no importance, I guess.
Absolutely no importance, no.
I see.
Yeah, it's weird. So, good.
It feels very fanfiction-y.
To be fair, it's a WayForward game, so yes.
Yeah, sure.
I love WayForward an awful lot. They lovingly like to bring back old elements of games when they tend to like do like a port or a remake or a sequel in those.
They like to just nerd out about things.
Absolutely, and I love that about them. But yeah,
it's what makes them qualified to do these things.
Yeah, but
also, oh man.
It does come off as fanfiction. You're like, oh man, but look, Mad Dog and Scorpion are here, and oh, you can play as the Pro Protectors, and like that's really rad. Don't get me wrong. But yeah, it's also like, oh yeah, it's fanfiction-y.
How are Mad Dog and Scorpion here, by the way? So
Mad Dog and Scorpion, they just happen to also have fought in the Alien Wars. So it's not technically the same Mad Dog and Scorpion from the 1980s.
Oh.
Yeah, it's just more of like a homage to the US version and whatnot.
I see.
Yeah.
Okay, so if I'm following this correctly, you have Bill and Lance, and then two people using the same code names as the other Bill and Lance from the past, and then also the descendants of Bill and Lance, for real.
For realsies, yeah.
Okay, and then also two robots.
And also two robots.
Who look like Bill and Lance.
I mean, if you want to get it even crazier, there's also hardcore characters that you can unlock and Shattered Soldier characters you can unlock.
Oh boy.
Yeah, no, it gets dumb really quickly. I mean, you never know. It could have been time travel, as we'll get into later.
Could have been. Totally could have been.
There are multiple games in this that do have time travel.
Of course there are.
Of course there is. Time travel always happens in these series. As a weird aside, by the way, to Contra 4, originally it actually took place 2 years after the Alien Wars, but then they released another game in the series that took place in the same year. Oh. So they went, how about we move that back to 6 months? And it's also had a pseudo-sequel of its own for Japanese mobile phones that we're not going to talk about because basically the team got no direction from Konami's mobile division. They just said, how about you port this game to phones? And they went, okay. And so it's kind of an awful game.
Yeah.
Fun aside, if you ever want to see a lot of really weird games that should not have been ported to Java-enabled phones, you should look up Konami putting out games like Dawn of Sorrow and other Castlevania games to mobile phones and be like, these games don't work, do they? And the answer is they don't.
No.
But they tried.
So, to anyone not very familiar with the history of Konami, who saw the garbage fire that was their basically exit from the video gaming industry, except yes.
Yes.
And it seems like an abrupt departure. It was not.
No.
That company poisoned itself for a decade before shuttering that.
Oh, God. And in ways that should be interesting, but not. Like the Contra Chinese mobile game where you fight aliens on the moon, which sounds rad until you realize it's a gacha game. We're not going to be talking about that one, but I wanted to mention it because it's such a good idea.
Yep, that's fair.
So the next game in this series, and one we're not going to talk about a whole lot, is going to be Contra Hardcore. And once again, the reason why we're not going to talk about it is because this kind of takes the series off in a separate direction that gets really, really weird really quickly. But Contra Hardcore is set 5 years after the Alien Wars, so 2641 AD. And alien cells are kept at a military research facility and they're stolen in a terrorist attack. And so the Contra Hardcore, which comprises of 4 people, Ray Howard, who basically is the Bill equivalent in this game, Sheena, our first female Contra, Brad Fang, who's a wolfman, and Brownie, a robot. They are sent to investigate, and they find out that this famous war hero called Colonel Bahamut had stolen these alien cells with the help of a one Dr. Geo Mandrake.
This is the best game yet.
Oh, it's good. They created basically a biological weapon using the stolen alien cells and used it as leverage to overthrow the present government. So Hardcore is a fantastic game. It's basically the most Contra. Like it's basically a Contra boss rush. Every stage has like 3 bosses. And it actually has like split paths. You can like take different missions. Like you'll get like a decision like, oh, do I chase this mercenary or do I go and like help out these scientists? And that'll take you to different stages. It also has like a really weird like secret ending where you can get into like a battle arena and you end up getting sucked through time to like prehistory and whatnot.
Okay.
Oh yeah, the game ends with you marrying a monkey. It's great. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's fantastic. Like even like the last boss will be different depending on like what path you take. Like you either like Muhammad will like merge with the alien cells, or he'll fight you in a giant tank or something like that. But yeah, it's a really really cool game, and that's probably about the most we're gonna dive into it because once again, there's a bunch of pseudo sequels to this, and there's a pseudo prequel to this as well that was intended to like literally start a new franchise.
Right.
If it ever got off the ground, which unfortunately didn't, despite being a pretty good game. But yeah, Hardcore, you should definitely check it out. It's a very good video game. So, after this, though, Konami kind of enters a very weird period during this time. The series always felt like it was more popular in the West than in Japan, and so Konami decided to release a few games for the PlayStation in North America. Contra, Legacy of War, and C, The Contra Adventure. Once again, these are pseudo-sequels to Hardcore. They star Ray Howard and the Hardcore team. Or a new version of the Hardcore team. Like, unfortunately, Brownie the Robot does not come back, or Brad Fang. But these games were developed by Appaloosa Interactive. They're a Hungarian developer that's known for the Echo the Dolphin series.
Okay.
Yeah, which I did not expect that one.
Yeah, no, did not.
Although, up their alley, because Echo the Dolphin deals with aliens.
Yeah, and time travel.
And time travel, exactly. They also developed a game called Star Trek Deep Space Nine, The Crossroads of Time around this period. I don't know what that game's about, but Deep Space Nine. It's a good show.
Yeah, it is. I assume that game is bad.
Like probably most Star Trek games around that time. Yeah, probably was terrible. So these games, once again, weird pseudo-sequels, and they were doing their best to move Contra into a 3D series, because this was around the time where people were trying to figure out what to do with their legacy franchises, and Sony had a mandate of like, hey, you need to make 3D games for us.
Right.
And so they tried to do these weird, 3D games that were just kind of terrible.
Yeah.
So after the release of C, The Contra Adventure in 1998, the series went dormant for 4 years. But in 2002, Konami decided to take another crack at Contra. But this time they gave it to an internal development team at Konami of Japan. And Nobuya Nakazato, the director for Contra 3 and Contra Hardcore, more or less was put in charge of this team. This series would get back to its 2D roots, albeit with 3D graphics as a run-and-gun shooter. And in the end, they developed a hell of a game called Contra Shattered Soldier for the PlayStation 2. This is also the first game we get where I have like 3 pages worth of notes. Because they decided, all right, well, we got to throw a story into here.
Yep.
So this game goes off the rails in a way. This is like the one game in the series that actually kind of takes itself seriously. And, ooh boy. Released in 2002, the game continues the story of Bill and Lance and has a surprisingly heavier emphasis on story. While the story takes place in the year 2647, it really begins 5 years before that. So, because of the alien wars, humanity has like developed weapons to defend against any more alien invasions. Seems reasonable.
Mm-hmm.
They develop a weapon called a hypermagnetic weapon.
Good.
So this weapon unfortunately malfunctions and kills 80% of humanity.
Oh.
Yeah. And
we made that one real strong.
They made that one real strong. Maybe it was that tank, you know?
Yeah, could have been related to the tank.
They found the tank and was like, oh man, what if we made that a weapon? Oh no! So Bill Reiser is pinned for the blame of this. They say, like, oh, Bill ended up, like, sabotaging the tank and it destroyed 80% of humanity. And he's also implicated in the murder of his partner, Lance. So Lance Bean is dead. He's apparently murdered by Bill. And so Bill still manages to get captured shortly after all this, and for his crimes, he's sentenced to 10,000 years in cryostasis.
I see.
So 5 years later, in, once again, 2647, a new enemy arises. They call themselves Blood Falcon.
Oh boy.
This is a group of terrorists that's led by a superhuman commander who succeeds in pulling off multiple attacks across the globe. He uses alien cells that he has captured to create an alien army to help him overthrow the government. And with the world in a panic, the government decides to thaw out Bill and task him with stopping Blood Falcon alongside with another Contra, Lucia, who's a cybernetic super soldier built using plans obtained from Dr. Geo Mandrake. I don't know why I had to pronounce his name that way.
I don't see any other way it could be pronounced.
Right? And once again, he was a scientist who helped Colonel Bahamut in Hardcore. Now, right. Geo Mandrake has been dead by this time, right? Mm-hmm. So they reconstruct Lucia from these schematics and whatnot, and Bill and Lucia go out to fight the aliens. Yeah. This include... Oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, I do have to say, if you're going to stick someone in cryostasis for 10,000 years, I'm a little disappointed that 5 years is the time skip you went with.
Yeah, right?
Like, if you're gonna do Demolition Man, you should do Demolition Man.
Exactly. There should be like a really big jump.
There should be.
Should be like 2,000 years or something like that, at minimum. So, I don't know if you ever played Shattered Soldier, but...
I did not. I watched the trailer, but never played it.
Yeah, it's a great game. This is Lucia, by the way. For those of you who don't know, she's a, like... lily white woman with like black hair up in a bun, and she basically is wearing like a leotard with like weird pauldrons as well.
Yeah. There's a lot in this character design.
There's a lot in this character design. Oh yeah, and also has like bright red eyes because she's a cyborg.
Right.
So they end up fighting through a bunch of places, including cities, a jungle, docks, and whatnot. And, like, each time they fight through one of these areas, you get, like, a cutscene and whatnot. Mm-hmm. So, eventually, they end up confronting the leader of Blood Falcon in one of his command centers. And upon confronting him, he reveals himself to be none other than Lance.
I can't believe it.
Lance is back!
But he's evil.
He's evil. Yeah, it turns out he's been revived with an alien cell. Somehow an alien cell was put into Lance... and he ended up just getting, like, super buff and strong from it.
Oh.
So, by the way, the government didn't put this into him. I'm just going to skip ahead to this. Okay. He just somehow got an alien cell.
Oh.
It's never explained. Oh. So he taunts Bill, and he tells him that he's without a clue of what's truly going on. And he says he, quote, didn't think the Triumvirate was so desperate to send you in. So some barbs are exchanged. In a cutscene that, by the way... is incredibly strange because it's like acted out and whatnot, but there's no voice acting. And during that same time, it's playing the same music that's in every PlayStation 2 game. The like like kind of sort of like weird electronic house music like everybody had the same sample CD back then. It's really weird. Like look up any trailer for any PlayStation 2 game and you will hear it. And that's like playing the entire time. So it's like, it's really strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's weird.
Yeah. But like, Bill like slams his hand on the ground. It's like, how can Lance be doing this? And like Lance goes like, I could take care of you now, but I'm going to let you off easy. And he teleports away.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be a common thing where people can just teleport unless you're the main character.
Ah.
Yeah, teleportation technology only for the bad guys, and it happens more often than you think.
Right. So, this was developed by an internal Konami studio, right?
Correct. Yes.
Did anyone there play Metal Gear? Like, do they know they're just writing Big Boss, but not?
Yeah, kind of. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if they did take some influence from that. I mean, this was 2002 was when Metal Gear Solid 2 came out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I wouldn't be shocked if they're like, yeah, we should do something like that.
Yeah. Big Boss, but Sephiroth.
Yeah, it's great. You know, look at him. He's wearing that military suit. Like he's doing great. Yeah, no, it's all very derivative. It's Konami. They're not very original sometimes.
Yeah, not so much.
So after this, Bill has a flashback to the day Lance died, and like he's like cradling Lance in his arms and whatnot, and they're wearing kind of like similar clothes to like what they were wearing in Contra 3, and it's revealed that Bill didn't kill Lance, but rather somebody had like assassinated Lance beforehand, and he was like mortally wounded and dying, and he tells him he needs to watch out for them before finally just dying, and like Bill's obviously very distraught about this. So, a couple more missions have happened, some time's passed, and we're treated to another cutscene, but it's at Government HQ. We know it's at Government HQ because it says Government HQ on screen. And it takes place in a weird room that appears to be a black void with like a weird like white tempest that's like below these three shadowy figures who are these old frail people sitting in cool hover chairs. Now, their names are Gaius, Nero, and Commodus. And apparently they are like ancient. They have multiple tubes and breathing masks and other like apparatuses to like keep them alive all hooked up to them. I'm trying to get a photo put up here. Here we go. Yeah, take a look at that. Those guys in their cool hover chairs.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Like they all have like weird like masks on them that I guess are like to help them breathe or whatnot.
Right.
And we find that these are people who have been around for like forever. Like they comment how the situation is going as planned, but it's moving faster than expected. And one of them expresses worry about Bill and Lucia, questioning the motive of their mission. Because like Bill's like, but if Lance is fighting against us, I trust Lance. Should I be like questioning things? And they're like, oh, this is bad. But another says there's no need to worry, because soon they'll finish analyzing the artifact. And once they do, they can put their plan into place and fulfill their dream. So they don't go any further than that, but Bill and Lucia eventually corner Lance at the Blood Falcon's main base, which is in like a nondescript jungle. So in desperation, Lance allows the alien cell to take over his body, and he like turns into like various different forms, including Demon Emperor Java, and as well as Gava as well. And like he fights the Contras, but unfortunately it's no use. Bill and Lucia manage to mortally wound him. And as he lays dying, like Bill's like, hey, just tell me what's going on, dude. And Lance is like, okay, yeah, I will. Maybe you'll be able to do something about this. Which is like, Lance, you should have done this at the start, dude.
Probably should have, yeah, probably. Should have opened with that.
Yeah, so he tells him everything. And he tells him that it turns out all the events of Contra up to this point were either the doing of or the fault of the Triumvirate. A council of 3 leaders who have ruled the Earth for as long as anyone can remember. They've been kept artificially alive and living in the shadows, and every major decision has been made by them. They had Lance murdered because he not only discovered this secret, but also why the alien wars even happened in the first place. So strap yourself in for something really stupid.
Yeah, I'm prepared.
So 2627, 6 years before the events of the first Contra game, a miner somewhere around Jupiter. By the way, this is the first indication that interstellar travel is a thing in this universe.
Right.
They discover an ancient sanctum, and in it is a relic of immense power called the Morai Relic. So the Morai Relic was left by an ancient alien race, also called the Morai, who long ago ruled the galaxy before humanity was even a thing. So they became so advanced that they eventually left this plane of existence for another. They are just like, we're out. We're going to a higher plane.
Sure.
So the Triumvirate, believing this relic could help them attain immense power, sent the army in to retrieve it. Once they did, though, it activated an ancient defense system. This defense system was Red Falcon. Red Falcon and other aliens were programmed to retrieve the relic at all cost, which is what led to the Alien Wars. They sent down the meteors from the Sanctum and whatnot, and that's what caused everything to happen. So it turns out the aliens weren't the bad guys!
Okay.
Sort of.
Okay, so... Emperor, Devil, God, King, Java...
Yes, something like that.
A defense mechanism?
Yes.
And they found this on, like, an asteroid near Jupiter?
That's my presumption, yes. They actually say they found it on Jupiter, if I remember correctly, which would be impossible, but...
Yeah. And then they brought it back... Mm-hmm. So then Java sent himself on a meteor to retrieve the artifact.
Yes.
And then Gava did kind of the same thing. And then they sent a whole bunch of meteors.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so... Yeah, they were apparently just, like, random alien race that was left behind and programmed to retrieve the relic. So, like... They're, like, not Morai. They're just something else that Morai either
they're like
enslaved or created. Yeah.
Basically.
So, this is the reason why Lance was murdered. He was also murdered because at that time, there's also the terrible accident that happened. The hypermagnetic cannon exploded.
Right.
And so they went, well, we need a scapegoat for this. Oh, hi, Bill. So Lance tells Bill this, and Bill's like, I'm going to get my revenge. And then Lance dies after that. Lance is dead. He's gone forever. So Bill and Lucia are like, okay, yeah, no, we got to go stop these idiots. And so they make their way to Federal HQ when, after an unsuccessful attack by the Triumvirate, like, they're, like, flying on top of an airplane. Like, literally, they're on top of the plane.
Right, of course.
Because it's Contra.
Yep.
They are sucked into a giant portal that takes them to some sort of alien dimension. And there they're confronted by the Triumvirate in person in their awesome hover chairs. Like, they just come down from the top and they're like, oh, ho, you don't know what's going on. We have the relic and we know what it does now. And Bill promises to murder the hell out of them. But before they do that, they reveal that, once again, they have control of the relic and they're going to absorb the power of it, and fulfill their destiny. Unfortunately for them, though, the relic, which, by the way, is just like a yellow crystal...
Yeah.
Like, they absorb the power, but then the power absorbs them back into the crystal. Okay. And so they turn into 3 different creatures. One which is literally just like Majin Buu, but like evil Majin Buu when he's skinny and he fights Buu. So, like, you know, like basically a man with like a weird tentacle head.
Right. Yeah.
A frog and a jellyfish. And finally, a single-celled organism. So, defeating all of them in this weird hell dimension, like, causes them all merged together into a Majin Frog jellyfish that the Contras have to fight while escaping the now exploding hell dimension. Because they defeated them and all of a sudden the dimension starts to explode and they had to escape on the plane. And so they managed to defeat him, he tried to pull the plane back in, but, like, Bill and Lucia, like, shoot him off of it. And they fall back into the exploding dimension. They escape out of the portal just in time. And that's it, the Triumvirate's dead.
This is such a PS2 storyline.
Isn't it, though?
This is such a PS2 era. How far can we push the nonsense?
Mm-hmm. It's really crazy, too, because, like, after this, there's 0 ending to this. Like, there is, but it's, like, barely an ending.
Right.
Because the ending is, like, they go and, like, they're about to land on an airship, but, like, there's a bunch of people standing on it cheering. And then Bill and Lucia just, like, kind of jump off the plane and, like, this is great.
Right.
Yeah, it's such it's this really weird thing where they're like, okay, we got to really expand upon the story. We got to explain why the alien wars happen. And they're like, okay, now we'll just shoot these old people.
Yeah. In the hell dimension. Like,
the hell dimension blows up, and it's like, it's not quite like as extreme and crazy, not like the next game we're gonna talk about where they just like are completely nuts about it.
Oh boy.
So like it ends up coming off as kind of like weirdly lame, which is too bad because the game's a lot of fun to play.
Yeah, I'd always heard good things about Shattered Soldier, but yeah, that just it's going in too hard.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going in hard on things Contra has never been about, like, oh, shadowy government organizations in the shadows and their secrets. Their shadowy secrets. And it's like,
yeah,
this is a game about aliens. The aliens came and they blew shit up, and then we had to blow up the aliens. Like,
yeah, exactly, right? This is like the one game where they lose the B-movie plot of it.
yeah. And it's like, why? There was nothing wrong with the aliens.
Yeah, there was nothing wrong with them at all.
One of them had a tank that blew up a solar system.
Yeah, that was cool.
Are these 3 old people in hover chairs supposed to blow up a solar system?
Maybe. They seem to have tried.
Yeah, I guess. I'm unclear.
Yeah, it's this thing with a lot of Japanese developers around this time, and Capcom, like, Konami is really bad about this, Capcom's really bad about this.
Yep.
Everybody's really bad about this, where they're like, we just have to explain all the weird, stupid stuff from the 80s. And it's like, no, you really don't.
You don't. And especially in this case, nothing needed to be explained. It was an alien.
Yeah, like, there's aliens. No, but listen, Alex, the aliens weren't actually evil. They were just trying to get back to Relic.
No, but they were. They were evil aliens. Like, sometimes that's fine.
Sometimes that's fine. Oh, man. Yeah. It was a lot more fun when they had, like, 5 titles.
Yeah.
And their names were so similar that it was hard to pick apart which one was which.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so Shattered Soldier's a little disappointing about that, which makes me really happy that I'm about to tell you about the next game.
Okay.
Because the next game, 2 years later, because Shattered Soldier did very well for them.
Yes.
They released a game called Neo Contra in 2004 for the PlayStation.
I remember hearing about this one, yeah.
Have you ever seen a trailer to this?
I think I did, and I remember. So I was very aware of Shattered Soldier and what that looked like and what that looked to play like. I never picked it up, but I was very aware of it. And then I remember seeing the trailer for Neo Contra, and for some reason I went, wait, what?
Oh, man. I think the trailer for Neo Contra captures what Contra is all about in every possible way. I think it may be one of my favorite trailers I've ever seen in my life. It's so good. It's so good.
I'm gonna glance at it real quick.
Oh, you should. This is, by the way, the highest quality video I could find.
Let me
Give you a second for this.
I don't know who PlayScope is, but anyway.
I don't either.
Okay, now that's a time skip.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, okay. Now
Like the song and everything?
I haven't muted, actually.
Oh, you need a song?
Oh, no, this song's good.
Oh, it's
this
so
song's
good. It's... Yeah, for those of you who obviously can't hear this, I'll link this in the show notes, but there's a really, really bad, like, theme song going on right now while a black samurai and Bill Reiser are just blowing up aliens while doing weird, cool stuff.
Okay.
Such as this hot flip.
So I remember, I remember why I had the reaction I did right now. Because, Shattered Soldier came out before I was actually really aware of Contra. Like, I didn't get into Contra until some point after that when I started going back to old games that I'd never touched before. Because I never had a Super Nintendo growing up, so I missed Contra 3 completely. It was never anywhere in my world.
Yeah.
And I had an NES, but Contra 1 also just wasn't something I came into contact with.
Yeah.
So my sort of introduction to Contra was, I think, EGM talking about Shattered Soldier and being like, this is going back to the classic Contra formula of side-scrolling run and gun stuff. And so that's how I sort of became familiar with what Contra was. And then I watched this. I knew about that. I saw the trailer for Shattered Soldier, and then I watched this.
Yeah.
And I never played Mega Man X7.
Oh, it's a bad good game.
But I was familiar with what happened when you turn side scrollers into weird 3D but not shooters.
Yeah.
And I went, this game's gonna be bad.
It's not a good game. This has like the opposite problem of like Shattered Soldier, where the story's amazing.
Yeah.
Like it completely captures what Contra's about, but then the gameplay's kind of.
Yeah. I looked at it and went, oh, isometric 3D-ish point and shooter, huh?
Mm-hmm.
That thing that never works out?
Yeah, never does.
Yeah. Oh, well. And that was as far as I followed up with Neo Contra in my mind.
Yeah, I never actually owned Neo Contra either. But I watched this trailer like on repeat when I first saw it. Because it's so good. Oh my god.
It's very good. Tonally, it hits all of the notes that a Contra game for the PS2 should be hitting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like once again, everybody, I'm gonna put this in the show notes, and I highly recommend you watch it. It is B movie as hell, and it's great.
It is worth the 3 minutes of your life.
Absolutely. But yeah, the actual gameplay is. Like, they have, like, a lot of really good ideas, because, like, you could pick, like, different weapon sets, and there's, like, at least, like, 7 or 8 of them. And, like, they try. They try really hard.
Right.
But, yeah.
The allure of 3D.
The allure of 3D. So, Neo Contra takes place in the year 4444, so it's been a while. So, for those of you who don't know, when Bill, like, got back from defeating a triumvirate and whatnot, his ass went back to prison. They just froze him again. Which you had figured if like he revealed like a huge conspiracy and whatnot.
Yeah, wait,
like,
who? Because I assume the triumvirate sent him to prison. They're gone now, so who?
The government. He's now called the Assembly. Yeah, I think it's just they want an excuse to like
do the time skip they should have done properly the first time.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, fair. That's totally fair. I respect that.
Yeah, totally. So, since the events of Shadow Soldier nearly 2 millennia ago, humanity has colonized multiple planets. However, the Earth itself has fallen to ruin. The Earth is now a prison planet. Which, fantastic.
Good, yeah. Yeah, strong.
It's been neglected by the government, now known as the Assembly. This, however, has led to a significant criminal underworld society to form. And that society forms a new Earth government called Neo Contra. And it's led by the mysterious Master Contra.
Oh my god, who could it be?
I wonder. Neo Contra consolidates power and eventually manages to take over the Earth, so they're now the new Earth government. And they divide the planet into 4, with Master Contra controlling the entire thing, but his commanders controlling like each individual part. And these include Gorilla Contra. In fact, I need to put up a photo of these people. I know I have a photo of them. Oh, I don't. I don't have a photo of them. That's okay, because there's only one that matters. There's Gorilla Contra, who's like basically just kind of like a mustachioed man in a military uniform.
Okay.
There's Plant Contra, who's a plant man. There's Pheromone Contra, who's a sexy lady. And then there's my favorite, Animal Contra. Now, I need to pull up Animal Contra, because Animal Contra may be the greatest thing ever created.
So I'm trying to decide if these people are doing Mega Man but badly, or Metal Gear but badly.
With the way the game's structured, I say both.
Yeah, it's sort of the middle ground between Metal Gear and Mega Man.
It kind of is. Oh, I didn't have it set up properly. I'm so sad about this.
Darn.
All right, hold on. You have to see Animal Contra.
I very much want to.
There he is. He's a bull terrier wearing a Piccadilly helmet and has a sword. And like he's on all fours. He is just a dog.
Michael, that's a dog.
That is a dog.
This dog is the king of 1/4 of the Earth?
Yes. Now he's a sentient dog. He can talk.
Okay, but that is a dog.
That is a dog. And what's really great is like, even if the plot was like completely terrible, which I mean it kind of is,
Yeah.
but like even if like they were playing it completely straight or whatnot, the fact that they have a dog is just like, yeah, no, that's inspired.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So yeah,
Okay, so wait, you said plant Contra is a plant, and I assume that was some sort of plant-man hybrid.
oh, it's a plant man. Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, he's just like a green man.
Okay. Because I was going to
Yeah, no.
be, is he just a plant?
Yeah, no, everyone else is very normal compared to the dog.
I see.
So like Master Contra takes over, right?
Mm-hmm.
And this scares the hell out of the assembly. So they thaw out Bill Riser and task him alongside another fighter named Genbei Yagu, also known as Jaguar, to go to Earth, defeat Neo Contra, and restore order.
Wait, where was he before?
Bill or Jaguar?
Bill.
Bill was frozen.
Yeah, but where? Was he not on Earth already?
You know, indetermined. Indetermined.
Was the prisoner not on the prison planet?
You know, you would think they would place the prisoner on the prison planet, but I guess not.
Huh.
Yeah, maybe he was. I don't know.
Okay.
So, just to mention who Jaguar is, for people at home, he's a man clad in like red futuristic samurai armor. He's a black samurai. You know, eye patch, has like his hair up in a bun. Looks rad, honestly.
Yeah.
And he is from a colony planet that's apparently very Japanese because it's called Edo.
Ah.
If it sounds like that's two words, it is. It's literally O as in OH, exclamation point, and then Edo as in the ancient name of Tokyo. Apparently this is a obscure reference to Goemon from Gembari Goemon, another Konami series. Apparently that's his hometown. It's just called Oedo, one word. So that's kind of neat. But yeah, he teams up with Bill and they go down to the Earth to deal with Neo Contra. And Alex, how do you think you would get down to the Earth in order to like start your war against this enemy army?
Okay, I would like to give two answers to this. First, to answer your question, I would take some sort of space shuttlecraft to fly safely down into the atmosphere and then land at some sort of space shuttle reception facility. However, I'm going to assume they ride a missile.
Ding, ding, ding. You got it correct with answer number 2. Now, you would assume they would do the Contra. So, riding missiles in Contra is actually not a new thing.
It's not, no.
It happens in Contra 3. It's really great. They're actually in the missile.
Okay, yeah.
And the missile is fired from a space station that's overlooking a planet, which kind of looks like the International Space Station. And it slams into an unnamed city, explodes, takes out a large chunk of it, and in the center of the crater is Bill and Jaguar. So they just get up from this explosion and are like, all right, let's do our thing.
All right, yeah. So yeah, like I assumed it was some sort of transportation missile, but that was an actual proper missile.
Yeah, no, it's an actual proper missile. Like, if you look in the trailer, the missile that hits the city and blows up part of it, that's the missile they're in.
I see.
Yeah. So they proceed to fight through the city, they encounter Gorilla Contra, who's in a giant walking tank, and then they kill the hell out of him.
Okay.
So next they attack another frontline base where Plant Contra is. They end up fighting their way through like a bunch of weird, like while riding a bunch of weird dinosaur beasts. They destroy the base's defense system and make their way into his quarters. But there they see that Plant Contra is already fighting somebody else. And he gets just absolutely murked, like shot in the face by this old man who looks an awful lot like an old Bill Riser. He turns to Bill and asks if, well, you know, if he's Bill. And Bill Riser, the actual Bill that you play as, is like, yeah, I am. And who the hell are you? And so he pauses for a second and goes, why don't you just call me Mystery G? Which is an awful name.
Yep, that's bad.
It is an awful name. And so, for those of you who don't know, Mystery G is an old man. He has like a gray beard. He has short cropped hair with a mullet. And, you know, he's wearing like green armor. And he has 2 giant guns that are in holsters around his ankles. in a way that seems like they would just flop around and hit him a bunch if he like ran or moved or anything like that.
You think?
But yeah. So they end up fighting like for absolutely no reason, and it ends in a draw. And G seems pretty impressed, but he wonders if he can really take on him. And so while this is happening, Plant Contra like springs back to life. Apparently he's not bothered about the whole being shot in the face thing.
Oh, he's a plant.
Yeah, plants are resilient.
They are.
So Mystery G seems just about done with this, and he's like, oh, whatever. And he tells Riser just like, hey, why don't you just uproot him? And like literally says that, and he teleports away.
Right.
So Plant Contra gets really pissed off about this because he feels like he's being ignored, so he turns into a giant mutated plant and attacks. And Bill and Jaguar just manage to take him down. Jaguar then says the really dumb line of, I can't believe he was a plant cyborg. Which is like, you know what universe you live in, right?
Yeah. Boy, I never considered the possibility of a plant being a cyborg before, but...
I, myself, a cyborg.
I'm honestly glad that I have now.
I see.
Yeah.
Jaguar has a lot of lines during this. Is like, man, he looks just like you. Or, be careful of this lady. She might try to seduce you. Like, he's like, very much like, I must tell the audience what exactly is happening right now.
Right.
Which is perfect from a B-movie perspective. I love Jaguar.
Yeah.
So the next mission has Bill and Jaguar fighting through a base on an unnamed island. Alex, once again, I'm going to ask you, how do you think they get to this island?
Missile?
No. A nearby volcano explodes and somehow sends them flying to the destination. Like, they explode out of the volcano.
Right.
There's absolutely no explanation of why they got into the volcano.
Okay, yeah.
They just did. So they explode out of the volcano, land on these islands. They fight through a base. They defeat a weird hovering alien thing. And then a woman with a mask walks out. She's framed like incredibly sexy-like, as much as a PS2 game can frame someone like that.
Sure.
And we find out this is Pheromone Contra. So she immediately addresses Bill by name. And Bill, for the life of him, cannot figure out why someone would know about the legendary hero / war criminal Bill Riser. He's like, how do you know me? How do you know my name? You must be somebody I know. And it's like, Bill, baby, you were accused of murdering 80% of all of humanity. You're well known.
Yeah.
So Pheromone chides Bill for this, and she takes off her mask, revealing she's Lucia, Bill's partner from Shattered Soldier.
Of course.
So Bill's shocked by this and asks why should she side with Neo Contra? Which Bill should immediately take the hint of like, I remember this happening once before. Maybe I should listen to her. Though, to be fair, Lucia like just kind of refuses to answer and instead just attacks.
Yeah, okay.
So I guess to Bill's credit here, it's not like he's like, oh, I have to fight her now. Well, or like just preemptively attacks or whatever. Right. So Bill and Jaguar manage to defeat her, but as she lays dying, she tells Bill he has no hope of defeating him. And her death is just hilariously overwrought. Like, Bill's like holding her, and she's like, oh, Bill, it's like old times, and I'm dying. And he's like, Lucia, no, why does it have to be this way? It's beautiful. So the final mission against the Commanders takes place with Bill and Jaguar running at what seems to be like 300 miles per hour through the sky.
Okay.
But then it pans out, and it reveals that they're flying on top of a helicopter, and they have to run so fast because they're running on top of the helicopter rotors.
Right.
And it's fantastic. Yeah. They're basically like in constant like stop motion animation running super quickly as they like are flying towards flying air fortress, which they can only which they like are fighting against whatnot, and shooting missiles at the helicopter, which seems unperturbed. Like a helicopter gets hit by a missile like 100 times during this mission, and it's like, eh.
Yeah.
And so they defeat this like air carrier, but it turns out it's not the real base. The real air carrier shows up, slams that air carrier out of the way, and it's just super giant. So they hop down on it, fight through it, and that's where they encounter Animal Contra, who once again is just a bull terrier in a German-style World War I helmet.
Yep.
And so Animal Contra reveals that this was all just a giant trap. The ship is actually rigged to explode with a plan to take Bill and Jaguar with it. Bill then says, and I quote, "You dog, you're going to sacrifice your own men." which is a line I hate. I just have here written, I hate you, Bill. So, Jaguar also says, oh, you must be cowardly. A captain always goes down with his ship. And Animal Contra is like, I just told you this was meant to be a trap. Anyways, and he flies away on a weird robot. So Bill and Jaguar give chase the only way they know how. They grab a couple torpedoes, throw them in the water, and use them to sail after Animal Contra.
Wait, weren't they in the sky?
Yes. They just jump down on the missiles. It's fine.
Oh.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Okay.
They literally just grab the torpedoes and just jump off the ship.
Okay. Sure.
So they manage to destroy the robot, which sends Animal Contra flying off into the sky like Team Rocket style. And like, complete with like star shimmer and everything like that. It's fucking great. It's great.
Excellent. Wait, okay. They brought torpedoes and jumped into the ocean to chase after Animal Contra's flying robot.
Yes.
And the flying robot didn't just fly away.
Nope. It decided it wanted to fight them.
I see.
Yep. Yeah, so that's it. They're all down. They're all dealt with and whatnot. Yep. It's great. So, with the Contras out of the way, Bill and Jaguar decide to infiltrate the main research facility where Neo Contra is experimenting with alien cells. So they destroy a bunch of weird aliens. They fight through an alien hive. They defeat what appears to be a weird version of Demon Emperor Gava. And the team is confronted by Master Contra. So Master Contra congratulates Bill, saying he's impressed that a fake could do so much. Bill is confused and asks him what he means. So Contra reveals that he himself, and he looks like a weird robot version of Bill. Which then Jaguar says, wow, he could be your splitting image.
Right.
So he claims that he's the real, original Bill Riser. And he reveals to Bill that he's a clone created by the Assembly. So Bill's obviously reeling from this. He just takes him at his word, basically. Which is then when Master Contra makes his move. He reveals that he let Bill and Jaguar do as they please so the Assembly wouldn't know his true plan. He doesn't reveal it here, but he does like literally electric shock Bill and Jaguar and has them locked in place and walks up to kill them. But then Mystery G shows up. G stops Master Contra just long enough for Bill and Jaguar to come to, but unfortunately he's sliced in the chest by like Master Contra's like big like sword axe thing and is mortally wounded. Master Contra then reveals another part of his plan. He's gonna blow up the Earth and then he teleports out of there.
Okay.
He doesn't reveal why he's gonna do this. He's just gonna do it.
Yeah, doesn't nobody care about Earth anymore?
Guess not. I mean, it's a prison planet. Yeah, cradle of humanity, whatever.
Like Earth is his planet.
Yeah, you think, considering that most of his army's been devastated, he'd probably need, like, an industrial base or something like that, but no, he's gonna blow it up. So, G is dying, but he tells Bill that he isn't a fake if he fights for what he believes in, and if he fights, he's a true Contra.
Oh my god.
It's great. Mystery G reveals that he was once the same as him, a Contra, before dying. It's never revealed, but it's pretty obvious. He's the real Bill Riser.
Right.
So, Bill's dead. Probably.
Okay. Probably, yeah.
So they don't have time to mourn, though, because right after this, we cut to an unknown city where all of a sudden, just a giant explosion happens in the middle of it, and a huge alien-human hybrid ship rises out of the ground and proceeds to fly up into the atmosphere. So Bill and Jaguar have to go after it, and in order to reach it, a missile shot up into the atmosphere through like a space elevator that proceeds so it proceeds to go through like 5 stages of ignition and like breaks apart constantly into smaller and smaller missiles until eventually it's just a little missile nub that Bill and Jaguar are just sort of attached to.
All right.
This game is rad.
Yep, it's good.
The missile nub eventually just ramps to the alien ship, which once again, they're at the top of the nub.
Well, you know.
So they slam into the alien ship, an explosion happens, and it doesn't kill them. They're fine.
Yeah.
They fight their way through and they confront Master Contra in the control center. Here, Master Contra finally reveals his plan. He wants to eliminate the need for soldiers and the possibility of new threats.
Oh my god, this is just Metal Gear.
Yeah.
This is just stupid Metal Gear.
Oh, it is. Because you see, Here's the thing, Alex. In order to accomplish this, he needs to eliminate society. Because you see, Alex, society, you have morals. But when you fight, you have to forget those morals in order to fight. Therefore, it's hypocritical and thus deplorable. Therefore, if you get rid of society and those morals, then everyone can become really awesome soldiers or something. And they can just fight endlessly.
Wait, I thought he wanted to get rid of soldiers.
Yes.
By making everyone a soldier.
Well, if everyone's a soldier, then what's a soldier?
This is just stupid metal. This is just stupid Metal Gear.
It is just stupid Metal Gear. This is literally Big Boss's plan. It's like, I want to make a haven for soldiers so soldiers could do soldier stuff, which is murder people. And the world will be great.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it's literally just this. So, Master Contra proceeds to try to fight and kill Bill and Jaguar, but it goes badly for him and he dies. Or so you would think. Because then it turns out the booming voice calls out to Bill. And they look around, but then they look down and they realize there's a giant projected head on the ground. He reveals he was part of something called Project C. The C stands for Contra. God. And Project C consists of not only him, but Bill. And the plan was to create an ultimate clone of Bill. So the idea is that they were going to create a Bill soldier, which is the Bill Riser we've been playing as. And then they're also going to implant the real Bill Riser's consciousness into a weapon, which led to Master Contra. The idea is that they would work together on Earth to kill more or less all the criminals and reestablish order. But then Master Contra at some point decided this plan was dumb, and instead decided to build a giant spaceship laser, implanted his brain into it, and now plans on blowing up everything.
This is just stupid Metal Gear.
It is!
Like, every single plot beat is just Metal Gear Solid or Metal Gear Solid 2.
Bill, did you like my sunglasses?
Nonsensical.
Bill, let me tell you about recessive genes. I have all of them.
Oh my god.
Therefore, it makes me inferior.
But actually not. But yes, but no.
Yeah, it's such a dumb plan. And there's a really dumb monologue where, like, he talks about what's the true nature of Bill Riser. What is Bill?
Oh my god.
He's a soldier, but what's a soldier? What does it truly mean to be Bill Riser? To be somebody who's lust after fighting. It's so stupid, but it's so good. So, Master Contra somehow makes this, like, projection become a giant living head that appears in the ground, which is a mistake because now Bill and Jaguar can shoot it.
Yeah.
So they end up shooting it, they kill Master Contra. The spaceship...
I'm sorry, they shoot the projected head?
Well, because it becomes a real head.
Oh.
Yeah.
How does it do that?
Alien cells.
Oh, right.
Blame everything on alien cells, which are just nanomachines.
Yeah, pretty much. Did you know cells are the first nanomachines?
Cells were the first nanomachines. I'm sorry, parasites were the first nanomachines.
Oh yeah, no, you're right. Except plants were. It is like someone lost a bet to Kojima.
Yeah, they lost a bet to Kojima, and they're like, okay, all right, every one of our franchises now has to include the basic plot points of Metal Gear.
Oh my god.
Pro Evolution Soccer's 2021 storyline is going to be you play as somebody from Manchester United, but it turns out that he's a clone of a player from Manchester City. And they have to determine who's the real ultimate soccer player.
Good, this is a better game already.
3 years later, the game is going to involve cursed Ronaldo.
Freaking Le Football Terrible.
Oh, I would play the hell out of that game.
I sure would. Oh, man.
Oh, they should totally do that. So, they kill Master Contra, the spaceship explodes, and it sends Bill and Jaguar falling back to Earth. Now, lucky for them, they land in the ocean, but it's okay. They grab a hold of a whale, like they grab a hold of the tail of a whale, and they get on the back and they ride it to safety. They ride off into the sunset.
Makes sense.
And that's Neo Contra.
It is like Metal Gear crossed with Kung Fury.
It kind of is. Oh, it's so good. It is so darn good.
That's a wild one. That game makes me wish Shattered Soldier was erased from the canon.
Right? Like, if we could get the gameplay of Shattered Soldier, put it on this storyline, it would be a fantastic game.
Yeah, that would be like the best Contra game ever made.
So, now there were, of course, other games that were released during this time. Once again, the DS game came out in 2007. A game literally just called Hardcore came out in 2011. That was a weird 50-year or so prequel to the original Contra. That
right.
Literally was meant to go off in its own separate direction. But if
I do remember that game, it had a really cool art style.
Yeah, it's a pseudo 3D art style, but it has Arc Systems, like 2D, high definition 2D sprites. Very Guilty Gear sort of look to it. It's really, really nice. But unfortunately, that game didn't do too well, and Contra sort of went dormant. Like, there were some mobile games here and there. There was Contra Rebirth for WiiWare, which I think was like 2008, 2009. But for the most part, there wasn't really a whole lot of Contra. But then the biggest plot twist that could possibly happen in this series happened in 2019. When we discovered that, turns out Konami actually still makes video games.
Oh.
Or at least they get other companies to make video games for them and they publish them.
There it is.
And in 2019, after releasing Contra Anniversary Collection, they released a game called Contra Rogue Core. Contra Rogue Core is a terrible game. And it's...
Oh, yeah. Now I remember. Oh, yep. Every memory I had about this game came flooding back. Isn't this the game with, like, the panda or something?
Oh, yes. Yes, it is.
And all of, like, 10 frames per second of animation?
Oh, yes. I'm going to send you a link here in a second. We're going to skip to 307, just so you can get an idea of what the tone of this game is. And I'll also put this in the show notes as well for everybody at home. Because you need to get a taste of what the humor is like. Because this game is still trying to go for like a B-movie sort of feel to it.
Right.
But unlike a Neo Contra, it completely misses the mark. And it's really too bad because like they actually brought back Nobuya Nakazato. Like he's in charge of this game.
Right.
But unfortunately, they decided to go with the gameplay has a very similar vibe to Neo Contra in the sense that it's more of an omnidirectional shooter.
Right.
But your weapons have cooldown. Yeah. What if in Contra, a game where you do nothing but straight dumping the entire time, if you had to sometimes wait and have your ammo recharge? Yeah. So once again, for those of you at home and for Alex, I highly suggest you skip to 307.
Yep, doing that now.
And when you're ready, we'll hit play at the same time.
All right.
So this introduces us to our characters, and I'll describe them in a bit, but these characters are terrible. So first we're introduced to Kaiser, who's just the Bill Riser equivalent.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely no animation to this.
Oh,
here's the worst character.
Oh.
Yeah. I can't wait to say who this character is. Anytime they include, like, a really nice British character, and they're like, oh, but look, he'll murder you, I immediately know your humor's gonna suck.
Yep.
And yeah, here's Hungry Beast, the panda. He's the subject of a lot of poop jokes in this game.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
There's one. Lily is the least insufferable character in this entire thing.
Yeah, I'm getting that impression, other than the fact that she's voicing over this trailer, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah, she is the narrator of the game. That's the one unfortunate thing.
Why does this game have a narrator?
Gotta have a story focus, you know? Okay, I do like this one section where Harakiri just does the one kick. Because it's so cheap looking. It's actually kind of good. It's the only good thing about this, though. So, we'll only play this for just a little bit longer, but there's one more incredibly bad joke you need to see. Oh, no! It has a very 2010 video game humor to it.
Yeah.
In a way where it's like, oh, look at this bad thing that happened to this person.
I'm
Yeah.
I'm reminded of Matt Hazard.
Oh, geez, yeah. Yeah.
And that's never what you want.
Yeah, no. I have not thought about Matt Hazard in a long time.
There's no reason to, except when you're reminded of equally terrible things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Like, this ended up reminding me of, like, Lollipop Chainsaw. I don't know if you've...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, another game that has... It's like, oh man, look at this wacky cheerleader, and she has a chainsaw, and her boyfriend's ahead.
Oh, man.
They're fighting zombies, or whatever they're fighting that game.
Yeah, I think it was zombies.
There was, like, exactly one good joke in that game, and it admittedly is a very good joke. But other than that, yeah, it's a humorless game. Humorless.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, this game is a very brutally unfunny game, and we might as well jump in and talk about it. So, this takes place 7 years after the Alien Wars. A city rises out of the ground out of nowhere, and it's called the Damned City. So,
oh boy.
It was discovered to have all sorts of weird alien artifacts and other technology by the government, and all of it was controlled by a gate in the center of the city. This gate acted exactly like its name implies. It served as a portal for the creatures known as the Fiends to come into this world and wreak havoc.
What?
Yeah. Yeah, so they're more like hell demons rather than aliens, it seems like. So, furthermore, though, the city has latent psychic energy that slowly drives whomever's inside its borders absolutely insane. So you can't just send the army into it. The one exception are mercenaries called the Jaegers. Or the Jaegers, I should say. Let's pronounce that correctly. Who is immune to the city's effects. So one such group is the Rogue Corps, which we just, if you watched the trailer, you have already met them, but I'll go ahead and describe them now. There's Kaiser, who looks just like Bill Reiser, cigar chomping, blonde hair. He's kind of the main leader and whatnot. He used to be a Contra during the Alien Wars. And, he curses a lot and is like, let's fuck shit up. Bah, bah, bah. There's Miss Harakiri, who's a blonde woman with a samurai sword who's a lot more proper. But she has an alien in her that she had to merge with during Alien Wars in order to keep herself from dying. The problem is this alien's trying to take over her. Like her soul and whatnot. In order to stop it, she has to stab herself in the stomach where the alien is with her sword. Because that's why her name's Harakiri. It's a bad joke. There is the Gentleman, who is a brain bug, like an alien brain bug that was raised by humans, and is like incredibly prim and proper and whatnot. He sucks. And Hungry Beast, who used to be a scientist, but his brain was placed in the body of a cybernetic panda. Because that's funny.
Haha, pandas.
Oh, look at that. That panda's violent. Look at pandas. It's adorable. And then finally, this is all narrated by the team pilot, whose name is Aero Captain, whose real name is Lily. Who, once again, is the least insufferable out of all these characters. So, the Rogue Corps are sent on a mission to Dam City to rescue a hostage, and that's what we saw in the trailer. The hostage immediately gets killed because they're bad at their job. After this mission, though, Kaiser has a nightmare from 4 years ago, right after the Alien Wars had ended. So in it, he witnesses the president of the world get assassinated as he's giving a speech about unity. Like, he's like, we have to make sure we come together, just like we did in the Alien Wars. We shouldn't let divisions happen. He gets stabbed in, like, the stomach with a sword, and then the Rogue Corps ends up getting blamed for this and have to go on the run. So he wakes up in a cold sweat to this, and he's told by Aero Captain that, hey, there's a new client with a job for them. So they find out that a company called Swan Labs, a medical research company, is investigating a way to replicate the psychic immunity that the Jaegers have and allow people to go into the damn city. Miss Swift, the CEO of Swan Labs, contacts the Rogue Corps to rescue one of their chief scientists, whose name is Dr. Claude Banks. Hungry Beast gets really upset about this for reasons that aren't clear. They make a poop joke in references, like, oh, maybe he has to go into the bathroom and take a dump. It's really bad.
Yeah.
But they are sent to the city to rescue General Banks. While this is happening, though, a general in the Earth Army by the name of General Phoenix sends murderous drones after the team because presumably the whole thing about assassinating the president kind of is upset about that. Mm-hmm. So After a couple of missions, they're treated to a flashback to the day the alien wars ended, with a now human hungry beast whose real name I cannot be bothered to remember. It's Kurt something. And Dr. Banks are pleading with General Phoenix not to fire this new cannon called the Vortex Cannon that could end the alien wars, because it hasn't been tested. General Phoenix tells them, and I quote, "Go back to your lab and grow some balls." He doesn't say this, but I'm sure he says nerd after this, and then fires their laser and ends the alien wars. So the president shows up, and it's like he's upset at the general for doing this. And the general says, "I think you just mean to say you're welcome." And he's like, "Well, whatever." And he gives a speech about unity. However, while he's doing that, the damn city rises from the ground. The president immediately picks up on the fact that the vortex cannon caused the city to rise and blames Phoenix for this, who proceeds to steal Harakiri's sword and murders the president with it. So Phoenix immediately blames the Contras for this, and Kaiser can't stop Phoenix at this point because without her sword, Harakiri could be taken over by the alien. So he lets Phoenix get away. He gets the sword so he can save Harakiri, and then Phoenix blames the Contras who have to run away. Now, meanwhile, Human Hungry Beast and Dr. Banks have been watching this entire time, and so Phoenix "How much did you see?" And "Man, we saw nothing, dude. Mm-hmm. We're just here, we're gonna get going." And he's like, "Nah." So he grabs him and throws him into a lab, presumably the lab where the vortex cannon was made. And for one reason or another, they decide to blow it up along with them. So they're separated, Banks and Hungry Beast. And while Hungry Beast waits to die, he meets Gentleman, who's in a tube. Gentleman agrees to help him escape in exchange for releasing him. So Human Hungry Beast agrees, and we find out Gentleman's plan is to put Hungry Beast's hit brain into this convenient panda's body and use that panda to break out. Yeah, right? It makes zero sense. Why is the panda there? I don't know. Why is the panda already a cyborg? I don't know. He just is. So they do that and they escape before the lab blows up. So the team rescues Dr. Banks and whatnot, and they find out that Dr. Banks reveals that he barely survived the explosion and has been dedicating his life to finding a way to survive in the damn city's psychic interference and find a way to make the damn city go away. He succeeded, but when the team went in, they all got killed by fiends anyways. Dr. Banks tried to escape, but then he discovered, after walking down a random subway station, the origin of the damn city. So buckle in for this really dumb explanation. It turns out firing the vortex cannon caused a hole in the space-time continuum to form.
Oh, God.
This sent the aliens back into a past where humanity wasn't able to deal with them, and so now a parallel timeline exists where the aliens wiped out the humans. And now time is trying to merge the two worlds together, which is why the damn city rose. It's a human city from the past that got taken over by the aliens. And so this is going to continue to happen unless they can find a way to stop the damn city. So the team that resolves to eventually stop General Phoenix, figure out a way to stop the damn city, but first they need to get Dr. Banks back to Swan Labs so he can continue his research. So they get Dr. Banks back there, but they find out that the CEO, Miss Swift, is not actually in charge. It's actually General Phoenix. Phoenix is... What's up?
Nothing. Please continue.
Phoenix is excited to get him back so he can get the serum and send a ton of soldiers into the damn city so to get alien artifacts. Kaiser thinks this is an awful idea, and the damn city should be destroyed. So Phoenix reveals, though, that he also wants the damn city to stick around so people can be frightened by it and stick together instead of turning on each other like in the old days. He's like, "I'm trying to unify people. Don't you see?" So he tries to have the Rogue Corps arrested, but Arrow Captain activates gunship, shoots a bunch of people, flips off General Phoenix, and escapes, alongside with Dr. Banks. So they have a plan now. They need to go to the damn city and stop it, all the while trying to avoid getting killed by General Phoenix. And while they're in the air... Oh, go ahead.
Okay, I'm sorry. So, what does it mean, stop the damn city?
Oh, we're about to get to that.
Okay.
So, Dr. Banks reveals the city is a living organism? Yes.
Okay.
And if they destroy a bunch of chambers within the gate, they can destroy the city, close the gate, and stop the worlds from merging. So these chambers contain what are called damnation engines, and by overloading them inside the gate, they can destroy the gate. It's a very Doom 2016 sort of plot.
Yes, except I thought the reason the damn city is showing up is because the space-time continuum is trying to re-merge itself.
Yeah, but somehow if you destroy the gate, that'll stop it.
It'll stop the fundamental force of the multiverse from correcting itself.
Yeah.
Because you blew up one device.
Yeah. It doesn't make a whole lot of sense now, does it?
No, but nothing about this does, so let's continue.
Listen, Dr. Banks is a very smart guy. Very, very smart. He's done all the research. He walked down that subway station, he went, I got it. Had an Edison moment. So
I thought Bill and Lance stopped the alien wars by blowing up a brain.
Yeah, kind of funny how they sort of just retconned that and said, no, it was a cannon.
So Contra 3 wasn't real now, is what this game is saying.
Well, Contra 3 is real, but I guess there was just more aliens and he used the vortex cannon to end the war.
So everyone's favorite game is wrong.
Yes.
That's an interesting foot to start off on. Let's continue.
I know, right? Oh, this game is so terrible in every possible way.
Oh, God.
It actively makes you hate Contra. It's wonderful. So, they go and get the engines, but right as they're leaving to go to the main gate, they're confronted by General Phoenix and a bunch of his soldiers. So, they had enough serum, left over that they could get, a platoon of soldiers in there. And so a fight breaks out, and Phoenix unleashes a beast that he captured called the Mega Fiend. So during the scuffle, though, Panda drops a damnation engine, and Phoenix gets a hold of it. Phoenix is like, oh, I know what I'm going to do with this. And he tells Phoenix, he tells Kaiser, I should say, that if he were a true patriot, he would have killed him when he had the chance instead of letting him assassinate the president.
Wait, what? But there was no opportunity to kill him before he assassinated the president.
Yeah, right? Yeah, it's...
he had no reason to kill him before that.
Yeah, he only did so because the president's like, Phoenix, it's your fault, isn't it? And he went, sword! Yeah.
Also, I thought that Phoenix considered himself a patriot.
Yeah. Well, he's... true patriots always do their duty. He did his duty by assassinating a president to cover his ass.
If you were a true patriot, you would have killed me, a true patriot.
Once again, going back to Metal Gear, this is not out of line with that thinking.
Yeah?
So, Panda records all of this, including the part where the Mega Fiend absorbs a damnation engine. Because, he slaps it onto, General Phoenix slaps it onto, the Mega Fiend. And, the only good line in the entire game happens where Kai's just like, damn it, Phoenix, don't you test out anything before you use it? It's the one good line.
Yeah.
But this creates a massive Hydra monster and, presumably kills General Phoenix as well.
Sure, why not?
So they don't bother to fight the Hydra monster. They're just like, we're out. And they leave, while the Hydra monster kills everybody.
Oh, that's smart, actually.
Yeah, they end up going straight to the gate. Dr. Banks works on installing everything. But right before he activates the engines, he reveals he doesn't actually want to destroy the city. He goes on a rant about how he wants to use the engines to supercharge everything and have the city corrupt the entire Earth. Everyone realizes that the serum only works for a short while. And Dr. Banks is now going crazy. So they try to convince Dr. Banks to step away from the console, and he goes, you mean it like this? And hits the button and turns it on. And yeah, because they're bad at their job. So the team, Kaiser tells the rest of the team to save Dr. Banks, because he's the one person who knows what to do. Right. So of course Dr. Banks immediately dies. He just gets torn apart by a bunch of fiends. Okay. So the team's like, well, we still got these engines. I guess we'll just blow them up in here. So they go in there, they fight the giant Hydra monster, they blow up the damnation engines, and they blow up the gate. They save the day.
Sure.
So in the epilogue, General Phoenix's crimes are revealed to the world. The team becomes famous, and Swan Labs is dissolved. Like, they start getting jobs all over the place. Like, they get magazine covers, including ones like "Move Over, Bill Rice" or "Gentleman is here," which is like, nobody would like Gentleman. Gentleman sucks.
Yeah.
The damn city is still around, but
Also, Bill Reiser is a military personnel. He's not private sector.
he is not. No, he is not. There is one good like promotional cutscene that was like done for this game, like before it got released. That was just like Bill and Lance like landing onto an aircraft carrier. Like everyone's interviewing him was like, "Hey man, what about that Red Falcon? What did you see?" And they're like have like 1,000-yard stares. Like, it was monsters. It was absolutely awful. And it's like, oh man, this is actually kind of okay.
Yeah.
Why couldn't the whole game be like this?
Wait, when did Shattered Soldier say that whole 80% of humanity thing happened?
Oh, that's when the giant hypermagnetic cannon exploded.
Yeah, wasn't that like 6 months after the end of the Alien Wars?
No, that was a little further than that.
Okay.
6 months after the Alien Wars was Contra 4.
Right, okay.
Yeah, I think, let's see if I have actual timeline on this. Oh yeah, it was 2642, so it was like 8 years afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah. So, Swan Labs is dissolved, everybody's arrested. The damn city is still around, and we see a now mutated General Phoenix grab a damnation engine. For what purpose, we do not know.
And we never will.
And we probably never will, because if I remember correctly, this game did not sell.
No, why would it?
Why would
sell?
it? And that, up until this point now, is the story of Contra.
So I know I already talked about Konami, but again, I just have to go back to anyone who's not familiar. The amazing thing about Konami isn't just that they made terrible decisions that drove them out of the video game business for all intents and purposes. It's the way that they poisoned each and every franchise people ever loved on their way out.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah.
Like, Metal Gear 5 was like a slap in the face to anyone paying attention to Metal Gear.
Mm-hmm.
Silent Hill is now best known for 3 terrible games and a pachinko machine. And this crap is crap.
Yep. Every legacy franchise you can think of has either been turned to a pachinko machine, a Chinese gacha game, or has been revived into whatever the heck this game is, Contra Rogue Core.
Yeah. Like, as a fan of Zone of the Enders, I'm now realizing the blessing that was the curse of that franchise dying after 2 games. Because I didn't have to watch this happen to it.
Oh man, you didn't want like an incredibly tongue-in-cheek version of Zone of the Enders where like...
No.
Like oblique references to the previous games that you actually like, but it just doesn't make sense and kind of looks ugly.
No, I got to watch Second Runner be real, and then that was the end. And then I saw Jehuti's arm in Metal Gear Solid 5 and went, shut up, that's not real.
I would like to register that I do, much like how I love how Contra's Shattered Soldier plays, I love how Metal Gear 5, Solid 5 plays.
Yes, it's gameplay standpoint, Metal Gear Solid 5 is fantastic.
But boy, is that story terrible.
Boy, yeah, then you hit part 2 and you're just like, oh, like 80% of this part is just gone. And what's left doesn't make any sense and actively ruins Snake Eater.
Yep.
Which is, in my opinion, the best game in the franchise. So.
Yeah. Probably mine too. Yeah, like really the biggest thing that like was a surprise, like when I first heard about Rogue Core and like it came out in 2019, and like obviously the fact that Konami was still making video games, but also the fact that it's like, wow, you brought back Contra, and Konami's getting back into the video game business now. Like there's rumors of a new Silent Hill game, for instance, and a few other little side projects and whatnot. But it's crazy to me that this game is the latest like Konami game that's out that isn't like a collection, right?
Right. Well, what that says to me is, hey, this is the state of Konami.
Yep.
that rumored Silent Hill game and anything else they might do, this is where they're at.
Mm-hmm.
So temper your expectations,
Yeah,
and then throw them away.
yeah. Unlike Capcom, like a lot of the people that were at this company have left, and he left such a long time ago that there's nobody that they've mentored or anything like that. Like it's like they're giving these franchises to other teams, like in like North America or Europe or wherever. Which that's not a knock against those teams necessarily.
Right.
Like obviously North American, like particularly European development is like they're the ones making all the really good games right now.
Yeah. But it is a knock against whatever team made this.
Yeah, and it's a knock against Konami in general, where it's like they're just more of a publishing arm now.
Yeah. A publishing arm with no quality gates.
None at all. None at all. I don't know if they're going to ever make another proper Contra game. I would lean no, but then again, this came out, so
yeah.
And I think the last Contra game before this was like 6 years prior, and once again, it was a Chinese mobile phone game. So
right,
you never know for the future, but
yeah, someone at Konami management clearly still has the image of Contra as a thing that can make them money if it's produced cheaply.
Mm-hmm. Oh, certainly.
But whether that equates to any actual proper game coming out of that,
yeah, not really sure.
Yeah, not optimistic.
Yeah. But yeah, that's the tale of Contra, a game that is very much a B-movie plotline with rough tracings of various movie posters of better action movies proceeded over the next 24 or so years and whatnot of kind of increasing insanity. Alex, do you have like any final thoughts about Contra or any observations?
No. That story's way more absurd than it needs to be, I suppose, is my final thought.
Yeah.
That's not like a negative. It's just an observation that, oh boy, at one point these games existed so that you could run around and shoot aliens or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, you could have just said, hey, look, aliens.
Yep. It's literally the perfect encapsulation of what this series is about. By this series, I mean this podcast series.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it had no reason to go in this direction, but it decided to.
Yeah.
I think my final thoughts on this are going to be that pandas aren't funny.
No, they're not. If it had been, hey, I'm going to put you in this robot body.
Mm-hmm. Now, what if they put him in a Probotector body?
What if, yeah. And then, because he really liked pandas, he went on to modify himself to have, like, panda theming. But that's because it's, like, his personality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he appreciates panda. Did he just become a panda?
Oh, yeah.
When they put his brain in there?
Yeah, he can only roar and he eats bamboo and stuff, yeah.
Like, but he's a human brain in a cyborg body.
Yep.
There was no reason for him to lose his humanity, and in fact, you made him not a character at that point.
Exactly, yeah.
And destroyed basically Gentleman's only relationship in that group.
To be fair, Gentleman apparently can understand him.
But does he have human thoughts?
I think he does. I mean,
That's the worst.
Yeah. And really, I think that's the best way to end this. Contra Road Core is the worst.
Yes.
Well, everybody, we're going to go ahead and sign off here. Next podcast will be in 2 weeks, and it's going to be a multi-parter. And if you think this is going to be kind of a really silly series that kind of went off the rails, oh boy, are we going to have a really good one for you. But once again, that's going to be in 2 weeks. And so I'm going to go ahead and sign off here by saying that I think those aliens should have stayed on Jupiter. Take care, everybody.